What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, Season 7, Episode 16. Let's get into it. Usman and Kim. So, Usman and Kim, they're in their hotel room. I think it's the day after, and they're getting ready to go meet Usman's brother, Muhammad, to talk to him about adopting his son, Mahadi. So, they're in the hotel room, they're getting ready, and Usman casually hands or tries to hand Kim a bottle of lotion so that Kim can put lotion on his feet. And when I saw that, it made me think this is something that she does all the time. The way he just was just like casually, hey, can you put lotion on my feet, or can you lotion my feet, or whatever the hell he said. It made me think, okay, this is something that she does all the time, which is, it just shows again her whole pick me attitude, her whole I'm gonna do whatever I can to keep this man in my life, her whole I'm not noticing any red flags. I'm just going to let this man take the wheels of this relationship and, lead me to the pits of hell because I just love him so much. So she doesn't want to lotion his feet. And because she refused to do that, that's when Usman knew that Kim was really upset about something. And so she tells him, of course I'm upset because, you never told me that you didn't tell your brother about how you wanted to adopt his child. So there's a lot of tension in the room, and she decides to he decides to leave the room to give her time alone. So when he leaves the room, he goes to the pool, the swimming pool, and Kim's son Jamal is there. So Usman and Jamal, they have a conversation, and Jamal tells him that by you not telling my mother that you did not tell your brother that you wanted to adopt his son, it's kind of, you're looking kind of like a liar, like you're giving false information, or you're letting people believe false information. And Usman got very defensive and says, I've never lied to your mother. And Jamal says, sometimes when you omit pertinent information, pertinent facts in a situation, yeah, you're kind of are a liar because you're misleading her. You're making her think that one thing is going to occur because when she puts the pieces together, because you have to put the pieces together with someone like Usman, he's never straightforward, just like Sumit. They are never just straightforward with what they want to do. You always have to try to put the pieces together. So when Kim was putting the pieces together, it looked as if the brother already knew, but that wasn't the case. And so Jamal is really calling him out about the fact that he never told them that the brother didn't know that they were going to be or had plans to adopt his child. Jamal says that they are moving way too fast. He says that y'all have not even gotten married yet. Y'all haven't, lived together as a couple. You haven't established a home. And now you're talking about adopting this child and adding a child into the mix when the two of you are not even really established as a married couple. Right now, y'all have just been on vacation mode, with Kim traveling back and forth between California and Nigeria. Every time it's like a vacation for them. They're just, just want to have fun with one another. They haven't established roots anywhere, a home anywhere. They don't have any responsibilities together as a couple. So it just doesn't make any sense to start thinking about adding a child into this dynamic when the two of them have established nothing as a family. And Jamal says that his mother has sacrificed a lot for Usman. And Usman, I feel like every time somebody says that Kim has sacrificed so much, it really gets under his skin because he thinks that he himself has sacrificed a lot. I don't know exactly how. Oh, I forgot. He sacrificed a lot by denying other beautiful women who come into his DMs or who try to reach out to him. He's turned all of these gorgeous, beautiful women away because he's chosen love over looks. So Usman thinks that Jamal is a little bit too involved with him and Kim's relationship, and he wants Jamal to take a step back. So then they go and meet up with the brother Muhammad and Muhammad's wife, and they sit down, and we see little Mahadi. Oh my God, So precious. I want to adopt Mahadi. He's so precious. So Usman tells his brother Muhammad that because they just recently found out that Usman cannot take on a second wife while he's in the process of, trying to get his immigration status in the United States, because it's against the law to have more than one spouse in the United States. So since he cannot take on a second wife, but it's important for him to have a child, and Kim, her eggs are dusty, she can't have any children. So he tells his brother, what about if I adopted Mahadi? And when he said that, both the brother and his wife were like, what? And so Usman says, yes, I would like to adopt Mahadi. And the brother says, what does this exactly mean? What are you trying to say? And Usman says to his brother that, we'll adopt him. He'll be like my own child, and I'll make sure that he has the best care, that he has the best education. You don't have to worry about anything. We're just going to take care of him, really, really good. And so then the brother says, well, what about his religious training, his religious upbringing? Because it's really important to Muhammad that his child is raised in the Islamic faith. And it's also very important to Muhammad that his child is raised with the house of tradition, the house of culture. So it's like, okay, what about all of that? Because Kim isn't going to do it. And for sure that Usman is not going to be around to do any of that stuff. So where does that leave the child? And so the brother, Jamal asks Muhammad, so are you expecting my mother to convert to Islam? And Muhammad was like, yeah, that would be great if she could convert to Islam so that she can instill, our faith into my child. And Kim was like, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to convert to Islam. So Muhammad and his wife say that they need to think about it, which I think was them trying to be very, very polite and saying that we're not going to tell you to F off on this, but we'll think about it. But yeah, I think the brother was just trying to be polite, but I think it was like a hard no. I don't see this happening at all. I don't even understand why Usman would bring this up. What I don't understand about Usman is, if it's that important for you to have a child, then why didn't you get with a woman who could bear you children? You can get with an American woman that can bear you children. If one of your goals is to also come to the United States, you can get with an American woman that can bear you children. And if it's about the love that you have for Kim, and that's why you can't just break it off with Kim to find a younger woman, then you need to accept that you're not going to have any children. It's not going to happen anytime soon or at all, period. So I don't understand why he can't. Anyways, it just doesn't make any sense. And my theory is that I think there has to be some type of financial benefit that he would receive from his family if he fathered a child. There has to be, and not necessarily now or in the near future, but maybe, as the elders in the family start passing on and property is getting passed down, it probably will only go to the ones who have children because they've got something to pass on as well. So I'm thinking that it has to do something with that. Like, he feels like if he gets married and he doesn't have any children, then he's going to be looked over when it comes down to the passing on of the property. Because when I look at Muhammad's family, I don't think that they are poor and destitute. I think his family, they seem to be at least middle class, possibly more, possibly higher than that, but they look to be at least middle class. So, because every time, I don't know. So I feel like this is the reason why he's like harping on this whole issue of I have to have a child, I have to have a child, I have to have a child. I don't think he really cares about loving a child or raising a child or being a father. It's just a way for him to secure his inheritance. So Kim says no, she doesn't. She's not going to convert to Islam. And basically Kim is like, she doesn't think this is a good idea. Okay. Point blank period. She doesn't think this is a good idea. So Kim and Jamal talk, and later on, her and her son are having a conversation, and Jamal tells Kim exactly what he told Usman. The two of you have been on vacation mode ever since y'all met. Y'all have not established any type of foundation as a married couple, as a family, and here y'all are talking about adopting this kid. And Kim says, well, it's not going to be happening overnight. It's going to take time before we actually are able to adopt him. And if and only if if his parents allow you to adopt their kid. And so she tries to explain to her son that, look, it's not going to be happening, overnight. Jamal says that Usman still plans to be going back and forth between America and Nigeria. So she's going to be stuck having to raise this child by herself. And Jamal says, your plans were never to have any more children. So why are you even entertaining this thought? Why don't you ever speak up for yourself and just tell him no? But you're constantly telling him yes. And Kim says that, she just has to deal with it. And her son tries to tell her, no, you don't have to just deal with anything. And he's taking advantage of her because she's such a yes man. Whatever Usman wants, she just goes along with it, no matter how crazy and far out the idea is, how unrealistic it is, how implausible it is. Kim always agrees with whatever the hell Usman says. She never planned on marrying a man who wanted to have multiple wives. But as soon as he brought it up, she was like, okay. All he has to do to convince her to do anything is just to say, this is my culture. This is my culture. I have to have a mistress. I have to have a mistress on the side. I have to have another woman in my life instead of just you. I'm going to be sleeping around with a whole bunch of other women, and you just have to know this because this is my culture. And Kim will say, oh, okay. And it's just so irritating because it's like, girl, don't you see that this guy's making a complete fool out of you? Anyways, y'all, I saw Usman on TikTok. He had a live on TikTok. You know how you're just scrolling, and you'll come across, a live. So it was one of Usman's live, and he was trying to get Kim. Kim was on the phone. So he's doing his live and Kim was on the phone and he was talking to her on the phone. And, they were sounding like really happy with one another. Like everything is just, just so wonderful between them, which I'm sure that it is. When they're not filming, maybe the real relationship is a whole lot better than what we see on TV. And he was trying to get her to come on to the live and stuff. And then I got bored and I left. So, if this is just for show, like this whole adoption of the kid thing, if it's just for show, okay, fine. They don't have anything else going on. So let's just create this storyline about him wanting to adopt his nephew. Okay, fine. I get it. I understand. We all have to make money. But y'all, if this is for real, this was like a real idea of his, it just doesn't make any sense other than maybe in their culture, property is only passed on to people who have children. I'm just pulling stuff out of the air, trying to make sense of nonsense. So Kim says in her confessional, I need to hear from Muhammad before I decide what I'm going to do. No, you don't. You don't need to hear from Muhammad about a damn thing. You don't need to be raising this child, Kimberly. Leave this child with his mom and dad. The fact that Usman wants to basically, he wants to take this child from the only world he knows, his mom, his dad, his culture, his country. You want to pull this child from everything that he knows and place him in a foreign land with a woman he doesn't know to raise him. And this is all done just for your own selfish reasons. You're not thinking at all what's best for this child, what's best for your brother and his wife. You're not thinking about that at all. You're just thinking about the fact that I need to do what I need to do for myself. And I need to keep the things going with Kim because she's going to help me get to America, and I need to keep my family happy because I can't lose my inheritance or whatever. So this is going to be him trying to get the best of both worlds, but we rarely get the best of both worlds. So Usman, you're going to have to choose. Either you're going to get with the chick that can give you babies, or you're going to have to stay with Kim and forego whatever you think you're going to be gaining by having a child of your own. Moving on from that. Next, we go to, I think it was Sumit and Jenny. Okay, so Sumit and Jenny, here we are. We are still at the dinner with the father and the brother and the sister-in-law, and they're still talking. Okay, so they're talking about Jenny and Sumit moving to America because Jenny had announced that, well, if the parents are not going to accept me, then me and Sumit, we're just going to pack our stuff and go to America. And the brother asks them, are you guys really planning to live in America? And Jenny says, yes, we are planning for it, or we've been planning for it. Sumit is shocked because he's never wanted to go to America. And I think he's even expressed this to Jenny that he's never really wanted to go to America, but he's shocked that she's, saying this to his family because it's not his plan at all to go to America. So Jenny says that she doesn't want to continue to upset the family. She does that whole Jedi mind trick. I don't want to continue to make y'all suffer. I don't want to continue to make y'all unhappy. So I'm just going to, we're just going to remove ourselves from the situation so that y'all can be, a lot happier without us and, find joy and happiness once we are no longer around. So Sumit says in his confessional that he has never agreed to move to America. He does not want to lose his family and friends in India. So then the father says, if you want to go to America, then go. Like, y'all should have been gone. Like, what are y'all still doing here? If this isn't working out for y'all and you can find a better life in America, by all means, go. And so he's not going to try to beg anybody to stay. Sumit says again in his confessional that he has not told Jenny yet that he plans to have a child because it's still important to him for his parents to accept him. And he thinks that his parents will also accept Jenny if they have a child. And he's going to get this child either through a surrogate or through adoption. Once again, it's not about having anybody accept anybody. In my personal opinion, and I could be wrong, I think it's just a way for him to keep his inheritance. They probably have something either in the culture or something written legally where once the parents pass away, whatever, whatever property or assets, whatever that's going to be passed on will be passed on to the ones that have children. That's my only guess of why it is so important for these younger men to have children some way, somehow, because their old wives cannot bear children for them. Because otherwise, why don't you forego the whole child thing and just move on with your life with your old wife? Okay? I don't understand why it is so important for these people to have these children involved if it's not even about that. If it's just like, I don't get it. Sumit says that my parents will be happier if I were to have a child and they may accept Jenny. They don't. It's not going to change the fact that Jenny herself did not give you a child. It's not going to change that. And if he were to have a surrogate where it was his own DNA used to have this child, I don't know, maybe possibly the parents might be okay with it, but I don't think the parents are going to change their mind if he ends up adopting a child. I think they only would accept or have the chance of accepting Sumit and Jenny if it's his own biological child. Why is it so important for you to have your family accept you, Sumit? You've been parading this older woman around in front of them for 10 years. All of a sudden now you're concerned about them accepting her. When you basically just rebelled against her, especially when he was trying to leave his first wife for Jenny. He went through all of that, the embarrassment of both families when Sumit wanted to divorce his first wife. I mean, it got so hectic that the family of the first wife kidnapped him away from Jenny to bring him back home. I mean, he went through all of that to basically, now he's like begging for his parents to accept Jenny. It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to humiliate your family by running away from your first wife, trying to divorce your first wife, making your parents pay money to the family of the first wife because you were so hell bent on being with Jenny. And during that time when I was doing reviews back then on this show, I always felt like he was just using Jenny to leave the first wife. Not necessarily because he wanted to be with Jenny. It was because he just wanted to be away from that first wife. And Jenny was going to be his ticket to freedom. That's how I saw it, but whatever. So you put your parents through all of that, and then you think that they're just going to accept Jenny just because after all that you put them through. Anywho, so the dad says that if you want to go to the U.S., okay, just go. We don't really care. And the father explains how important it is for Sumit to have a child. And Sumit says in his confessional that he hasn't told Jenny yet that he plans to have a child so that the parents can accept him and Jenny. Sumit asks if there's anything. He asks his father, is there anything under the sun that I can do for y'all to accept me and Jenny's relationship? The father looked at him dead in his face and said no. Hell to the no. There's not a damn thing that you can do. He says, The father said, I'm speaking the truth, whether it's bitter or whether it's sweet. I'm telling you the truth. I admire the father for that. I truly do, because it's such a big contrast to Sumit, who's constantly lying and manipulating people to get what he wants. The father is like, take it or leave it. This is the truth. This is what we want. This is what we expect. And if you can't deliver this, then we ain't got nothing for you. So that's the end of that. So the next day, Christine, Jennifer, Jenny, and Sumit, they're out there sightseeing, and they sit down and have a conversation. And Christine says that it's time for Jenny and Sumit to come to the United States. So the first lie that Sumit says is, I don't know if I'll be able to adjust to life over there. It's got nothing to do with that, Sumit. It's got nothing to do with whether or not you feel like you're going to be able to adjust to life in the United States. You don't want to go to America because that's going to be the last straw for your parents. They're not even going to talk to you again if you move to America with Jenny. Right now in India, you still have an opportunity to speak with them, at least, even though the mom, she's done with you. You still have an opportunity to speak with your brother, your father, whatever. They're still giving you the time of day. Once he moved to America, it's going to be over and done with. And he's not going to be able to control his family from America. And when I say control, I mean, telling them the lies of the manipulation to convince them to do what he wants them to do, which is to accept Jenny and to keep his inheritance. Once again, y'all, I think it's all about money. I think it's all about money. I don't think he cares whether or not they like Jenny, whether they accept Jenny. That he just wants to make sure that his inheritance is secure. So he doesn't want to go to America because of that. It's got nothing to do with, I'm not going to be able to adjust to life in America. So Sumit says that he's not ready to move. And Jenny says, when he says that I'm not going to be able to adjust to life in America, Jenny says, well, I've adjusted to life in India. If I can adjust to India, you can adjust to California. So Sumit says that he's not ready to move. And Jenny says that the immigration process will take 2 years. So they need to get started as soon as possible. Jenny is used to Sumit being like this. There's always an excuse. He's always throwing up a wall. Whenever she's trying to progress their relationship, trying to move their relationship forward, he always throws her a curveball. And at this point, if you know how he is and you're so used to how he is and he's always trying to fight you, Jenny, why are you in this relationship? Anywho, moving on. So she had to tell him that she spoke with the immigration attorney, and that's how she found out that it's going to take about 2 years for the process to go through. So Sumit, he's not really happy about the fact that she spoke with an attorney behind his back and got all this information without telling him. So he does the Uno reverse on her, and he says to her that he wants to adopt a child. He says, I'm going to be 35 and I need to consider having a family. I need to start having a family. I'm going to be 35 in 2 years. So I need to start thinking about having a family. So I want to adopt a child. And so Jenny looks at him like, okay, so here we go. So the first reason was I'm not going to be able to adjust. Now, the second reason is I need to settle down and I want to adopt a child, and my child has to be raised in India. So Jenny says, she says, if you really wanted to have kids, then why did you get with me? Why did you marry me if you really wanted to have children of your own? The daughter and the daughter-in-law, they're like, yeah, Sumit, why would you marry our mom if, you've been wanting to have children? And in the beginning, you didn't want children, period. You never wanted children. So where is this coming from? So Sumit says that he really wants to make his family happy and he wants his family to accept him. Jenny says in her confessional, nothing has changed with Sumit. It will always be family over me. His family will always be a priority over me. If you know this, Jenny, then why don't you just pack your bags and go home? They both played each other, really. They both played each other because she moved to India, giving him the impression that she wanted to live in India forever and ever with him. So her wanting to go back to the United States, that's a curveball to him. And he played her because now he's talking about he wants to have kids and he wants to have a family. And he made her believe that he was going to make her a priority over his family. So they both played each other. Maybe they do both deserve each other. I just don't know where they're going to live. They probably do deserve each other. The only question is, where are they going to live with all of this toxicity? Yara and Jovi. So Yara and Jovi. Yara, Jovi, Karina, and Jovi's friend. They go for a hike. And when they get to their destination where they're going to start their hike, as Yara is getting out of the car, Jovi is like helping her out of the car, and he wants to like hold her or hug her, and she pushes him away. Yara, in a way, and I'm not like Team Jovi or anything like that, but Yara in a way is mean to Jovi. She's just plain mean. Like the way she was pushing him away and then calling him stupid. She says to him, "Get away from me, you're stupid." Sometimes she can be kind of mean to Jovi. Anyways. So while they're hiking, the subject comes up about Yara staying in Europe. Yara and Karina, they really put the pressure on Jovi. They're like, we don't understand why, Yara can't stay in Europe, and she needs to stay in Europe, and she needs to be close to her family. She needs to be close to her friend. This is her home country. This is where she's from. This is all she knows. Europe, 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 Europe. So then Karina calls him selfish yet again because a husband wants his wife and his child to be with him, and that's considered selfish. And Karina says that it's unnatural for Jovi to want his family around him. Y'all, my blood was boiling. How dare she? How dare she say these things to Jovi, and Yara just sits there and lets it happen? How can you call your friend's husband selfish because he wants his family to go back home with him? She fought really hard. She went through a very long, arduous process to become a United States citizen. So why don't y'all understand how confusing it is for Jovi for all of a sudden they take this one trip to Europe and she doesn't want to go back to the United States after all they've been through for her to become a U.S. citizen? Then what was the purpose of going through the whole immigration process? Why couldn't she just stay, keep her happy butt in Europe and not worry about becoming a United States citizen and just marry whatever, a Ukrainian, a German, a Czech, or whatever? So Jovi believes that Yara is still being influenced by her friend and her mother. Yara says that nobody's influencing him. That's the only time that I've agreed with Yara. That, yeah, no one's influencing Yara. This is what Yara wants to do. Yara cannot be influenced by anybody. If her own husband, the father of her child, the man that she chose to marry, if he cannot convince her to go back to the United States, there's no way that Yara is capable of being convinced by anybody. She does what the hell she wants to do. But Jovi stands his ground and he says, no, when we go back, we're going back together as a family. We're all going back together as a family. Later on, and plus Yara had told him that, she hates living in America and that she's been miserable for the past 2 years. So later on, they're in their hotel room and Jovi tells Yara that he had no idea that she had been unhappy for the past 2 years and absolutely hating her life in the United States. Yara accuses him of not allowing her to follow her dreams of living in Europe. And Jovi was like, I've never heard of this. You never told me that you had dreams and aspirations of living in Europe. And so Yara says in her confessional that if he keeps pushing me to go back to the United States, I might decide to stay in Europe indefinitely, because she really wants to split her time between the U.S. and Europe. 6 months in the U.S. and 6 months in Europe. That's all fine until your daughter's older and has to go to school. Then what? You're going to leave your daughter behind for 6 whole months to go live in Europe? But anyways, so she wants to split her time between the U.S. and Europe. But if Jovi keeps pressuring her to go back to America, then she's going to, rebel and just decide to stay in Europe indefinitely. Jovi asks, why try to come to the United States then if your heart was always in Europe? And she responds, I don't know what to tell you. You can tell me the damn truth. You can tell me the damn truth of what this is all about. The only thing that I can think of, and once again, I got to pull stuff out of the air because these people are so dishonest. The only thing that I can think of, I think she's tired of Jovi. It's got nothing to do with America. She hasn't been happy with Jovi for the past 2 years. And she needs a break from him. She wants to be separated from him. And so she's using the turmoil in her home country and I need to be close to my mom and all of this other stuff of why she has to stay in Europe. She's using all of that as an excuse to be separated from her husband. She wants a separation from Jovi. That's all I can think of. Because if her heart was in Jovi, it wouldn't matter where they lived. Her heart should be with her husband, but her heart is no longer in Jovi. Jovi has proven to be less than what she expected, and so she wants to be separated from him. And maybe her friends look at Jovi, her European friends look at Jovi, even her American friends, and they don't really think too much of him. And they look at her like, girl, what the hell did you ever see in this man? Like, for real, what's going on here? Maybe because, her friends tell her that he could do so much better than this. She wants to leave him. She's not happy with Jovi. And when you watch them interact with one another, they argue more than anything else. They're very nitpicky with one another. Very, very nitpicky. It's this constant, just constant back and forth, nitpicky, little arguments here and there constantly. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I have a feeling that that's what she wants to do. And what's so sad is that, if she ends up, if they were to get a divorce or a separation and she moves back to Europe, what's going to happen with the child? This is going to be whatever. Moving on. Andre and Libby. They still haven't heard from immigration. They're still waiting to hear from immigration. Chuck has a new boo in his life. Chuck hasn't dated in 10 years, and he's found a new boo on some dating app. And he's supposed to be meeting her because she's supposed to be coming down to Tampa. So he's telling this to Libby and Andre pushes them to do a double date. Libby's like, no, we don't need to do a double date. They need to be alone by themselves when they first meet. And Andre keeps pushing it, and so Chuck agrees to do a double date. So from there, we move on to Charlie and his mean, evil, conniving wife. And they still have no relationship with Libby or Andre. They are not even talking to Chuck. It's just them. And then the sisters are slowly coming around to Charlie's side. So Charlie's wife says that she has no problem. She says that if they ever get together for this family therapy session, and if Andre puts his hands on Charlie, she says she has no problem calling the cops and getting Andre deported. She has no problem doing that. I don't care for this woman at all. I don't see anything redeeming about her at all whatsoever. She really, really irks me. Like, my spirit just gets all twisted and out of shape whenever I see her on my television screen. I don't like her at all. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, at first, I was kind of like, Andre, nobody called immigration on you. But if somebody did call immigration, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Charlie's wife. So then we move on to the double date. So Chuck is there, Andre and Libby are there, and they're waiting for Chuck's date to show up. And she doesn't show up. And so he gets a text from her saying that she came down sick with C-19 and she's not going to be able to make it. Yeah. Then they talk about the immigration problem, and Chuck says that he's going to ask every single one of his children when they do go to therapy if they had called immigration on Libby and Andre, because he's going to get to the bottom of all of that to find out once and for all if that's what happened. Yeah, good luck. I mean, that's just, if somebody called immigration on them, do you really truly believe they're going to admit it? Ed and Liz, they're arguing again. Now they're arguing about Ed is not happy about Liz going back to work at the restaurant because he says that this was a problem that they had before in their relationship where Liz was working very, very long hours and he wants her to be home more. So they compromise that she will definitely be going back to work, but she's going to try to keep reasonable hours, whatever the hell that means. So later on, Ed comes to see Liz at her restaurant, and she tells him that she's got some really good news. Her boss has offered her a partnership in the restaurant to be part owner of the restaurant. And so Ed is like, okay, I'm confused because you wanted to leave San Diego. You wanted to start fresh somewhere else. And you wanted to leave San Diego. So we're not leaving San Diego. And so I guess they're not going to be leaving San Diego. And so Liz is like, well, I haven't accepted the offer yet. And then Ed says, well, if you do accept this offer, this means that you're going to be practically living at the restaurant. You're going to be gone a lot. And she's like, well, that's just the nature of it, but I'm going to be paid. I'm going to be getting paid really good money. It's going to be a huge financial benefit for us. Ed doesn't want to hear that. Ed is really worried about her spending so much time at the restaurant. He says because her coworkers influence him, influence her, and I don't know, influence her, I guess, into breaking up with Ed because her coworkers are young and they make money and all they want to do is go party. So he thinks that Liz is going to be influenced by that and it's going to cause a problem in their relationship. I don't know what to say about that. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like maybe Ed and Liz should just break up. I don't know what to say. Maybe they should just break up. They argue too much. And Ed is extremely controlling. And Liz is a bit passive. She needs to do what's best for her. That's all I can say. Liz needs to do what's best for her. And Ed can join in or he can get out. But she needs to do what's best for her. She needs to think about herself and her trying to get custody of her daughter and not worry about what's comfortable for Ed. Moving on to Michael and Angela. They meet up with Michael's two friends who Angela refers to as the goofballs. And it didn't go so well. One of them said something very disrespectful. Angela got upset. They started arguing back and forth. What they argued about really doesn't matter because this is what always happens when they meet up with his friends. This scene was just created to fill up time because it made no sense. Why does Angela have to meet his friends? Why? She lives in America. She's got nothing to do with these two friends. Absolutely nothing. She doesn't have to have their approval for anything. They're already married. Michael wants to come to the United States. And it seems like as long as Angela is willing to help him come to the United States, he's not going to let go of her. He's not going to break up with her. So what is the point of meeting these two people who are against this relationship? This relationship is already solidified. So when Angela and their friend are going back and forth, hurling insults to one another, Michael is defending Angela. Of course he's defending Angela because number one, that's his wife. And number two, that's his ticket to America. So of course he's going to defend Angela against his friends. The friends' issue is that Michael is letting Angela take too much control of the relationship. And because he's the man, he needs to have more control over Angela. And they think that Angela is just running the whole show. So they want Michael to have more of a backbone. Michael don't give a damn about none of that. Angela is the one that he's sleeping with. Angela is the one that's going to get him to America. Angela is the one that's sending him money. Why in the world would he go against Angela and try to, make her upset by being more dominant? Like, it doesn't make any sense. This whole scene was stupid. So they went ahead and, so then it was time for Angela to go back to America. Okay, whatever. It was time for her to go back to America. They said their goodbyes. They love each other. They're going to miss each other. Who cares? Whatever. That's the end of that. Thank you so much for joining me for this review. It went on way too long. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, do not forget to rate the video if you like this content. Go ahead and subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.